Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are the Chado Urasenke Tankokai Association. And we'd like to thank you for joining us today at the Victoria Tea Revival Festival. There's a lot of words going on here today. We're very pleased, but I also would like to start with a land acknowledgement that we are indeed sharing this moment with you on the unceded traditional territories of the Lekwungen people, also known as the Songhees and the Esquimalt nations. And we want to thank the caretakers for their graciousness in allowing us to practice tea in this beautiful environment. You're good. My name's Natalie, by the way, and I will be our MC today. I was about to say we're part of the Urasenke Association again for some reason, because I'm just a titch nervous. How many of you have joined us before for a tea ceremony? Wonderful. We've got some return folks. Come on in. And for those of you who are new, welcome. We're very excited to share this event with you today. Today we're doing a traditional style of tea on the tatami mats. Now this was the original style of tea. And our guest today is Ayako. And she will begin by first looking at the jikyaku, or the scroll alcove. And our scroll today says wa, which stands for harmony, which we thought was very appropriate for today's event and sharing this harmony with you today. Yeah, sure, go for it. I'll be speaking intermittently throughout the ceremony, explaining what's happening, but there'll also be periods of silence for you to just enjoy the sounds and the sights. And we do encourage questions at the end, and feel free to take photos. We just ask that you don't block the cameras for the filming. So our host is entering. This is Yaiko, and she is presenting our guest with some sweets. How many of you have enjoyed a bowl of matcha whisked the traditional way before? Excellent assortment of you. How many of you found it a little bitter at first? Yes. So traditionally, it's always served with a sweet to linger on your palate, and that helps cut the bitterness of the tea and let you enjoy the full flavor. The founder of our particular tea school called Urasenke is Sen no Rikyu, and he was 1522 to 1591, so a very long time ago. And before his work with tea, it was actually reserved for the nobility. It was not something that the masses were allowed to do, and then it became available for monks as part of their traditions, but he's really one of the founders who opened it up to everyone, and he simplified it, and he made it so it was accessible for all folks to enjoy. And one of the philosophies, and Jen had touched on this, of our school is peace through a bowl of tea. And so we hope you feel some of that peace today in our ever chaotic world that we have. Now, what our host is doing right now is called fukusabaki. And please, I apologize for my Japanese pronunciation. I am not a first language speaker of it, so I'm still learning. But fukusabaki is a spiritual centering, sort of a moment to be here. It also is a ritualistic symbolization of purification to show our guests how much we care for their presence today. And it allows our host to let go of any worries or thoughts so that she can just focus on the tea ceremony itself. And one of our philosophies is wa kei sei jaku, which means, harmony, respect, purity, and tranquility, which are all the emotions we want to convey while we're doing tea. Now you'll notice she used her silk cloth called the fukusa to open the lid. One of the differences between men and women when performing the tea ceremony is that men have to do it barehanded. They're not allowed to use it, and that kettle lid is quite hot because it's sitting over some almost boiling water. What our host is doing now is both warming the tea bowl and doing a purification or inspection of the whisk. Now, everything was meticulously cleaned before any guests ever arrived. But again, this just shows our care and attention to our guests. But it also has the added benefit of making sure that we both serve the tea at the right temperature and opening up the tines of the whisk to make it easier to whisk the tea so we get a really good froth on it. And it's all these subtle details that make it just a beautiful ceremony. So our host has just said, please enjoy your sweet. And while there's no clocks ever allowed in a tea ceremony, there is a timing. And my sensei, Mito sensei, described it once to me as the flowing of a river. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's quite slow. So it's never static, but allows you to enjoy everything and focus on the items as they're being utilized. Now, I encourage you to pay attention to the different ways that our host holds the hishaku, or the the large water scoop. Depending on what movements she's doing or how she's adding water or what temperature the water is, she'll do different hand movements to put the ladle down. Now, our tea today, and I had to write this down because I just learned the name, is Okumi Dori. And we'd like to thank Jaga Silk for providing it for us. It's a very delicious ceremonial grade matcha. And in fact, one of our senseis at the tea school uses it in her lessons. And I do encourage you to, if you get a chance, to try it out at some point. It's got a bright, beautiful scent and flavor. Our guest has just said she will partake of the tea and also a thank you. They're not literal translations, it's more of an intent. And you'll notice that she turned the bowl so that the pattern is facing away from her. That's what's considered the front of the bowl, and that's to show humbleness. We always drink from the back of the bowl to indicate humbleness in the tea environment. So we've chosen a fall tea bowl today to reflect the season. So you'll notice it's got a beautiful pattern on it. And there are different tea bowls for different seasons or events. But it's also up to what the host wants to convey. So sometimes it'll be something that reflects the guest or the guest's interests. It might reflect the season. Or it might be a very special bowl, like, for example, a zodiac sign, if we're doing a New Year's celebration. So what our host is doing now is finishing up the tea. Because this is a demonstration, we're sort of constrained for some time, but normally, if we were doing a traditional ceremony, that would be an opportunity for the guest to indicate if they would like another bowl of tea. And if so, the host would continue making tea until the guests were satisfied. When finishing, we use a cold water to do a whisk of the bowl with the tea whisk, sorry. And that has the opposite effect. It closes the tines down and gets it ready for storage afterwards for cleaning up. I highly encourage you, if you ever have the chance to participate, to participate in a tea ceremony. You'll be able to hear the sounds of the different temperatures of the water as she's pouring it. The natsume or tea caddy that we're using, which you can now, well, sort of half of you might be able to see, and I do encourage you to pop up if you get a chance, is actually from Vietnam. And the lovely thing about tea is that there's an opportunity, if you find something that you think would look beautiful and reflect your intent, you can go ahead and use it. It's called bitate. And our sensei actually found that natsume in a market in Vietnam and thought, that's not for jewelry anymore, that's going to be for tea now. And that's my favorite part of the ceremony, where she added the extra water to the kettle to indicate that we're always available for tea. Now you'll notice she turned to the left when taking out the waste container, and that's because that's never to be shown directly to the guest when it's in use. It's not considered lovely enough at the time. However, she'll turn to the right because the tea bowl and the natsume are beautiful, and the guest should have a chance to admire them. Our guests will do one more admiration of the scroll and our flower, which is dogwood, very apropos for our BC. And then I'm just going to grab her shoes. You're welcome. Thank you all so much. We hope you really appreciated that. Thank you very much. I'd like to invite our host and our guest out for a quick bow. Keep going, keep going. We really appreciated being able to present this ceremony to you today, and encourage you, if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them. Thank you again very much. Arigatou gozaimashita. Any questions? Yes? Excellent question. The sweets are either called okashi or wagashi, depending on the type. In this case, it was I'm not sure of the English translation. It's like a jelly, but it's made with agar-agar. And so it's sort of sugary on the outside, but soft in the middle. And they're in the shape of little fishes. They're really cute. Yes?
Can you talk about the koicha and usucha and which one you use?
Absolutely. Today we did an osucha style. The gentleman asked the difference between okoicha and osucha. Okoicha is a thick tea, beg your pardon, and it's quite formal, very formal. And osucha is a thin tea, and is often the one you will see in movies or presented. As I mentioned before, it's the thin tea we use today is okumidori from Jaga silk. And in some ceremonies, you might actually have both. You might start with a thin and then have a thick. And they're prepared ceremonial-wise similarly, but the thick tea, when we say it's thick, it is a very thick consistency, and you would drink it, and then your job as the guest is to clean the bowl afterwards so the host can take it back. And you only get one bowl of that. The host will not continue to make you thick tea afterwards. I hope that answered your question, sir. Any other questions?
So there was a small, it looked like a small piece of wood that
Yes.
was brought in by the guest. What is that and what does that symbolize?
The guest brought in a sensu, or a small fan, and it has a lot of different meanings. The one that I learned was originally, when this was for nobility, the samurai are not allowed to bring swords into the tea room. And so it was replaced with a fan. The fan also can denote your position on the tatami mat. And we often hold it in our hand when we're bowing at the beginning of lessons and whatnot. But I do apologize. I'm not super strong on the historical facts on that one. So thank you for the question, though. Any other questions? Yes?
There's a big white thing there.
Yes, the bamboo log. I will ask Ayako-san the name, because I've forgotten it again. The name of our barrier here.
This is a kekai in Japanese, and it is a boundary, spiritual boundary.
Yes. So for those who didn't catch it, it's a keikai, and it's a spiritual boundary. It sort of denotes where the host section ends in the tea room. Good question. Yes?
I noticed the host and the guests were not facing each other, and they barely exchanged a word. What exactly is there a role for social interaction within the tea ceremony?
I am really glad you asked that. So a lot of folks have the impression that the tea ceremony itself is super formal and rigid and quiet. And in certain cases it is, if you're doing a very formal tea. But a lot of times, a casual tea, there will be conversation back and forth. The guest might ask about the scroll or the flowers, and then give the host a chance to explain their intent and why they chose the pieces they chose, and just have a lovely conversation. For our demonstration today, because we are under a little bit of time constraints, we can't do the full enjoyable, relaxed conversation, so we did sort of a slimmed down version. But great question, yes. So it's really, while there is structure to the different types of tea, and there's hundreds of different varieties of tea ceremonies that you might have the opportunity to see, at the end of the day, the host is always looking to the guest to make sure the guest is comfortable and happy, and adjusting to account for how the guest is reacting and feeling. But the guest is also doing the same thing out of consideration for the host. So they're watching the host. How are they moving? How are they progressing? So it's a mutual consideration through and for others. One more question, then we'll wrap up. Nope. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. I will bring Jen up to close us out, and I will awkwardly scoot out of the way. Sumimasen.
Thank you.